fight against drugs, but actually cha-cha was the most dangerous thing I ever experienced. I was sick with a very frozen body and I lost the voice somewhere in Bassiani. So, okay, so yeah, I mean, I'm an artist, so I will try to also entertain you a bit, but also be serious. I'll guide you through different projects that I'm doing. And just to state, like, I apologize for being in this state, but it would be such a pity not to witness such a big amount of Georgians flipping out in Bassiani and actually being able to communicate with them non-verbally, which is exactly what my project is about, so through the dance. My project is called I Dance Alone. I know that your line is We Dance Together, so I will elaborate a little bit on this individualism versus collectivism and how one transitions from the another. So I'm doing this as a PhD research, artistic research at the University of Applied Arts in Vienna. And it took 4 years to be recognized by institution that what I do is relevant. At the beginning, I was just a crazy artist trying to claim that by dancing in clubs, you're actually producing certain value. So there's a story that I would like to start with. So what I share somehow with Georgians is definitely growing up in a war country. So So I grew up in Yugoslavia, in Belgrade, and I had to deal with these kind of images and thinking that they're beautiful. So I had to kind of translate the shitty situation outside on the streets and in the country and the war in Bosnia into some kind of meaningful, beautiful images. So during the bombing in '99, I experienced something totally phenomenal and weird, and I will try to reconstruct that feeling now for you. So I will put a little bit of bass over it just to try to reconstruct this feeling. So in the times of silence, how come that during bombing we were actually going to basements and dancing? What was this dance about? So, like, did we actually try to sort of translate a certain restlessness or fear or insecurity or potential death? Did we actually mock the dead? Did we participate in some kind of ritual that was there to empower us? So, dance can be performative and participatory. These are two definitions. And function of the dance can be social, ceremonial, ritual dance, erotic, sacred, liturgical, competitive, martial. And what's somehow missing in definition is political. The dance that you had here and you're having is actually political. So I wanted to show you an archive of Indonesian dance from the beginning of 20th century that I found in an archive of a film museum in Amsterdam. And you know, they always like say that when you are working with dance, you should look into African dances, but actually I feel much more comfortable with this kind of dance. It's actually a martial dance, so these two guys are competing with each other, so they're, let's say, fighting, but by influencing space and time, so not necessarily with the fists. So by doing this dance, they're actually filtering certain energy or aggressiveness that normally in a normal fight would be performed differently. So I mean, yes, they looks like actually like they're voguing. They're also dancing with the fashion, so the scarf is really important. And this kind of dance is something that I found very inspiring and also quite free in a way. I mean, I like how they're 360 degrees taking space. If you think, if you're able to take 360 degrees space in a club, like you know that you need certain courage to do that. So this dance is actually originally, there's a legend about this dance. So it says that the woman that was doing a laundry on the river was not able to reach home and come back to her husband because she saw the tiger and the bird fighting. So when the fight was over, she finally came home, but the husband wanted to punish her. And she escaped this punishment by imitating the moves of a tiger and a bird. So here we have a very interesting example of a female empowerment through actually a kind of a legend or a story. And what comes important in my project is, of course, body. So where do you feel your body? Is it the shoulders? Is it inside? Is it outside? Is it legs? How aware of your body? Maybe somebody here is meditating, then the awareness of a body is different. But I was very much interested, where did this body from the 99 disappear once I moved to Amsterdam? So, you know, I was a training delay. Like by the time I reached Netherlands, everything was over. It started like changing drastically. And the dance that was taking place was pretty much boring, almost no dance. It was quite a comfortable period, 2004, 2005, 2006. And I was in panic that I'm gonna actually lose this dance that I love so much. So I became obsessed with looking for the dance that I recall from 90s. So I want to show you research into choreography, into traditional dances by Alan Lomax, who tries to explain from where does choreography come. So what initiates us to move? And how, especially in electronic music, this movement is not something we imitate, this movement is something we feel, and therefore we perform. So I would like to show you this theory. I mean, he has been researching this for 30 years, but main focus was on traditional dances.
Searching to find measures of movement that vary regularly with culture and with social structure. This Burmese hill climber appears to be tracing intricate circles with his movements. We'll begin our search here, observing the tracing of the limbs through space. And in part one, test out a sort of human geometry of the dance. The straight line arm movements of these Navajo girls define a one-dimensional system, in contrast to the curving, two-dimensional arm style of these Spanish girls. And to the spiraling arabesques of these Indonesian candle dancers tracing three-dimensional paths. The up and down bouncing and linear arm shaking of these New Guinea dancers shapes a one-dimensional style, contrasted to the curving two-dimensional gestures of these Polynesians, and to the spiraling three-dimensional gyrations of a Ceylonese car dancer. The same forms appear also in work. Indian women scraping manioc move their arms up and down along a straight line in one dimension, different from the circles traced by these South Asian women grinding flour in a stone quern in two dimensions, and from the spirals of the rice bundle in the hands of this Filipino thresher moving in three dimensions.
So it's interesting, basically our daily activities or the use of tools somehow has been translated in the choreography of traditional dances. So this is, I mean, maybe it's interesting to think of a Georgian traditional dance and to somehow see if there is a relationship. But also what comes is that in contemporary society, our activities Pretty much this. So I somehow realized that actually the technology in our daily life is also influencing the reason why, let's say, Western Europe did not dance that much from the beginning of 2000. And I was waiting for the right moment when these bodies will start to move again in order to see what they're trying to say. So the term body crisis in my research comes from noticing this kind of situations on the dance floors and concerts. So this is how we dance. This is how mainstream dances. So we are not saying about like particular electronic music scene, etc. But even like in some parties on raves in Netherlands, people don't really move. They just stand. So it's interesting to see that the movement against technology sort of infiltrated itself onto the dance floor, so to sort of not allow the presence of technology. This is a sign from Bergen, I guess same it's in clubs in Georgia, like cameras are not wanted, I guess. But I'm interested in something else. How can we employ technology to get a new information about our dancing activity? So this is a friend of mine who sent me this on Sunday after his weekend. So it says that he walked 44 kilometers, that he climbed 55,663 steps, and that he reached the 12th floor. So this is the amount of hours and energy that he invested on a dance floor. I'm further interested in non-professional dancers, so performance, so not people who are trained to dance, but people who start dancing by going to clubs, and the choreography that comes from the body, so embodied knowledge. So not something that we learn, but something that we hold in ourselves. I mean, if you think of babies start to dance sooner than they start talking. So there is some kind of information that we hold that moves us. I would also like to show you a video from '84 from UK, just to show you diversity of the dance floor at that time. So there is something magic in watching people dancing. You can, thank you. I mean, you know, we get goosebumps, we laugh, we feel emotionally connected, we feel we move. All of you have smile now, wonderful. So what is what we like so much about this image? Speaking of 80s and looking now, like having this kind of diversity in any club worldwide is something that we need to put money in, that the government needs to somehow put on the table as necessity, you know, like inclusivity, LGBTQ, diversity, style, etc. I mean, this just happened in the 80s. There wasn't a curatorial agenda. We didn't need to sit at the conferences to discuss how to reach this level. It was happening and it was fine. So we are looking just at one club. I mean, the amount of people here is like amazingly weird and mixed, and it's wonderful, and it does give us certain emotions. So we're here looking at people who are now 60 or in their 70s, so grandpas and grandmas around us. So my research is interested in so choreography that revolves around intuitively emerging choreography as it unfolds first within the individual body. So one person starts the movement and that movement implements itself to the others. So if you think was the Georgian techno dance, I'm sure you will see that some of you dance like others, and in a way the choreography created itself by participation in clubs. And I'm interested in the moment of collectivism when this choreography gets in sync. So the momentum that you had in a revolution. So how did you reach this state? So synchronization, or we are in sync, or it was a good vibe. What is this vibe that we describe in clubs? It's a bit like a science fiction, like we're trying to catch the ghost of a dance floor. Is it a mix of drugs? Is it a good sound system? Are we totally manipulated by clubs? Is there some energy going on between us? So what is this vibe? What is the spirit of a dance floor?
So choreography, individual and collective. In order to start my research, I implemented a so-called divine perspective that was given to us by God in Renaissance time, but now it's actually technology. So a bird eye view on the Venice help people to not get lost in these canals. And I collect samples of different dance floors by attaching the camera above the dance floor and filming from the bird eye view. So looking at the crowds worldwide and trying to understand how they move, and if they move, and when they move, and for how long they're gonna move. It's interesting to look the amount of festivals that rised last years. In time of crisis, crowd always has important role, but it's also interesting to see how it became economy source and to question if each of these festivals has actually really right agenda, if we feel that we are respected as by body and by spirit on these dance floors. These are different samples. So collective body is not a crowd. I don't think that every crowd is collective body. Collective body is when you feel that you are connected, when you feel that you're one. It can be a small group or it can be a big group, but it's a moment of synchronization. Just like on football match when a bunch of guys just start synchronizing themselves and alter themselves in a certain state of consciousness. Yeah, festivities, I mean, you know, we are discussing here if it's okay or not, how we're gonna do it. I mean, it has been always there since ancient times and has been documented. So we just need to find a way how to manage it right. I decided to show you these paintings because just to, Choreomania, it's an interesting event that took place in 1518, where a group of people couldn't stop dancing for 3 months. So they were trying to understand what's going on. So what you see, these women who are sort of altered again. And it's interesting, the explanation, they tried to connect it to what they were eating, for what they were drinking, but it was a too big group people, 200 people. So somehow they couldn't make a connection to anything else except to their beliefs in punishment, because it's a group of people that actually was totally lost in a transition from one phase to another. So it's a group that in times of crisis started dancing and couldn't stop dancing. In order that they stop dancing, they had to create a mobile stages and to sort of accompany these women and men and not play the bass, but play the melodies to slow them down. And by giving them acknowledgement, by recognizing them, they stop the dance. So these people came back to themselves and they continued the life. These are just some drawings. Another example of extreme situation of dancing. So in time of 20s and 30s in States, in time of crisis, there was kind of an event, a dance marathons, which was event for people to participate, who wanted to make extra cash, and to watch. So the rules were that you actually need to exist on a dance floor as long as possible. What's interesting is that very often women were lasting longer than men. And this turned out totally in a big show business and entertainment. So people could bet on them like on horses. And it went even further that they actually had to eat while dancing. So we are here looking at the kind of music festival that really manipulates the crowd and uses particular group of people to sort of expose their sadness. So I wanted to show you also the footage from, for example, Gay Party in Amsterdam. And what you will immediately see is that the spaces between bodies are very small. So what you normally apply in, let's say, straight or man to women's dance floor is that there is always a certain distance. You kind of respect a little bit of private space. I mean, this would be definitely called sexual harassment. But it's interesting to see how crowd, in a very organic way, moves 360 degrees. And I wanted to show you another footage from a drum and bass party that I thought I would really hate, but actually I loved it because I managed to document the following event. So these are kids. This is 16 years old kids. This is the first party that they can participate on Amsterdam Dance event. One person initiated this mosh pit, and the others need to adjust themselves to the turbulent situation. What's really interesting is how the circle is growing. They need to find out a solution how to manage this situation. So they start uniting from one into two and into three. So non-verbally, you see the guys now with two, non-verbally, they're creating the system of survival in this sort of microcosmos, the organism of a dance floor. So collective dynamics, what does that mean? So what is our role as individual on a dance floor, and how does that role apply outside of a club? And does the experience from the club really applies to the outside world, or is just an illusion, wasting of time, not reaching any kind of meaning? So I'm interested in kind of drawing, actually I will not show you this, but let's try.
I'm Babai. I'm a biophysicist from Caltech, and this is Caltech. It is my pleasure to join Bogomir and introduce this collaboration to you. At the start, I would like to introduce the concept of self-organization. And it is a universal principle that essentially explains why it is at all possible for life to emerge in this world. First, let me show you an example from my study on how protein molecules self-organize into patterns inside of cells. This movie shows thousands of proteins collectively oscillate between two sides of a cell, which I artificially stretch into different shapes. These thousands of proteins move together because they have some kind of chemical communications. By changing cell shape and cell size, you can also see that they now can collectively detect the boundaries and decide to move in different directions accordingly. In our DNA, there are those three-dimensional coordinates that maps every single molecule in our body. What the DNA codes for is the ability to produce a specific set of molecules that follow certain set of laws. And these molecules sense each other and sense their environment, and they together make a cell. And cells will sense each other and sense the environment. They build a functional living being. A concept of self-organization can be scaled up to then interpret phenomena at a much bigger scale. In a population, for example, the collective motion of a school of fish or a school of birds, or even the rise and fall of an ecosystem. Again, there are two elements to consider here: how we interact with each other and how we interact with the environment. In simple enough scenarios, such as the movie I showed earlier on the proteins inside the cells, we can actually write simple equations and resolve these interactions. When we look at our human society, however, it becomes much less apparent. It is particularly difficult to separate the behavior that originate out of our own free will from the ones that are imposed by the boundaries and rules coming from such an elaborate and complex society we and our ancestors have spent thousands of years creating. The dance floor of a club is in itself an artificial environment. We build walls around us and we dance in it. At the dance floor, are we constrained by the walls? Are we influenced by the definition of clubbing in our culture? Or are we influenced by each other?
Okay, so you got the idea. Is like basically I'm trying to apply also the nature science instead of anthropology, where you always like analyze how many Air Max sneakers are on a dance floor. Is it a working class? Is it this or that? So in my project, it's actually everybody's equal, but we're looking at what is their action and how active are they on a dance floor as one and as a group. So this becomes somehow the dance notation. So speaking of technology, I mean, just to remind that like in ancient times, through the repetitive beats of tumpanum, women were able to enter the certain state of trance. Then gays joined them, and then this became popular wild, like from Greece to Rome. So it's interesting to see what is the repetitive base for us today. It's function one or any other sound system. Electronic music in itself is designed in a way to put us in a certain state of alteration and state of trance. So we're not getting wasted, we're getting upgraded. These are just, so thinking of these ancient rituals, you could extract topics that we were addressing here. So safe spaces, inclusivity, exclusivity, door policy, curating crowds, LGBT plus, etc. So when we speak about altered state of consciousness, we're experiencing on a dance floor something that is like a daydreaming, near-death experience, physical, psychological, so we can go through fasting and sex to reach the same state, again through meditation, but through music, through hypnosis, and of course with the use of psychoactive substances. So we are actually trancing. So activism and spiritualism are the values that we apply on the different dance floors. So we're looking at a subculture that implements certain ideas of activism and spiritualism into itself. So the dance floor is actually arena, it's a ritual ground, it's a dance floor, and there are clubs that are able to allow you the state of trance, and there are clubs that just don't know how to do this. What's interesting, if you think of a state of trance and dance, is like Dimitri was also speaking here about waking up dead zones through participation and dancing. If you think of all clubs, they're always like abandoned industrial spaces that through the dance wake up, and through the dance recover the city, recover the country, recover the region. So by participation in this collective dance, we are translating the energy of the space and give it another meaning. In Brazil, they say when you feel pain, keep on dancing. I can totally identify myself with that. So if you think of Bassiani, Bassiani is actually in an old pool, again, abandoned, sort of destroyed, not used space, through which you participated in a collective dance and brought attention internationally to Tbilisi, to Georgia, to you, and this is why we're here now. So we're looking at a space that managed to do something that no any other cultural institution, unfortunately, did not do in Georgia. And not just in Georgia, also in other countries. So in a time when, in time of crisis, clubs sometimes take the role and initiative because they don't have a hierarchy of who is in and who is out. And I think it's especially interesting when you look at Bassiani, like if you think that you're dancing next to the hooligans and let's say gay person, and this works. Everybody was smiling yesterday in Bassiani, nobody was aggressive and pushy. So how did this happen? And you know, you're from here. What was the situation before Bassiani or 10 years ago? Did you feel comfortable as you feel comfortable now? So how something like this So this is a scream of pleasure, this is a scream of releasing the energy, and it's a collective. And then from that scream, you go into this. So when we rave because we remember what waits us outside. This is why we rave so hard. This is what Pata from the White Noise movement said. We don't go to Bassiani to escape, we go to make a plan how to change things. I love this one. So from that scream into this, again, divine perspective, but not of a god, of a drone, of a technology. It's available to us, same as music, electronic music is available. So from that scream into this. And why is this important to me, or why is this important to us, let's say, in Western Europe? If you think that just a week later there was anti-fascist protest in Berlin, and the slogan that was used was "We dance together." So you guys inspired and reminded world that dance can be urgent and political. I mean, this is just some, so like just to show how many people wrote about you and don't underestimate what you have and what is created. So, yeah, thank you.